What's up, guys? It's Braden here
And
with
Mark,
and we're decided to record another video.
you say that like it wasn't going to happen.
Yep. We've been pressured by our TO to record another video. Thank you, Brandon. This is for you.
This one specifically. Not any ones in the future, but just this one.
Just this one. So today we decided to talk a little bit about regional prep, and how we kind of are looking at this regional for Summerfest 2026 for Bushiroad. For Weiss, I guess we could also look at Vanguard if we really wanted to.
I mean, let's stick to what we know
let's stick
best.
let's stick to Weiss for now.
Because, I mean, reasonably speaking, there is a very non-zero chance some of us might be dropping Vanguard for a different game.
Yep.
Bushi, you need to add all of them to every event, not select ones.
Yep. So our primary regional that we all go to is the Rosemont Chicago regional, being the closest one to us. We get a pretty good showing from the Grand Rapids area. What do we get? 12, probably 16.
I was going to say, usually at least double digits, but it sometimes depends.
Yep. So we got a pretty good group going. Say hi to us if you see us. But the dates for 2026 Rosemont are June 13 and 14. Dating this video, it's currently mid-March.
We are 3 months out.
We got 3 months of prep, and I won't be around for one of those months, basically, because I will be in Japan having an excellent time. So, it's about time for our locals. This is usually about when people start looking at deciding what deck they want to play and start getting the reps in, figuring out, getting the practice. Usually, it's we're a bit early on it, but it's always good to be more prepared and be ready to go, especially because we also have a few more fresh players at our locals who will be their first regional, so we want to get them prepped, ready to go, comfortable with the environment.
Well, and reasonably speaking, I know my mindset is I want plenty of time to just play the ever-living shit out of the deck that I'm going to take. That way, when I'm there, it's a lot less mental stress of going through them. It's not so much I'm thinking about my plays all the time as much as I see what the board state looks like, I see what's my hand, and it's just we're just going through the motions. It's it's a well-oiled machine at this point. Now, sometimes we get into really sticky situations. It's alright, now I gotta think about what's going on here.
Yep. I think being comfortable on your deck and knowing what you're looking at, being able to analyze a bad scenario or a good scenario and take advantage, knowing your lines, knowing your options is very helpful. It's incredibly helpful in a regional environment because it really lightens the mental load.
Well, absolutely, and if you know that your deck doesn't have, lasting power, as in, hey, my deck doesn't have a whole lot of healing, or it doesn't have a lot of neg soul, so I can't slow the progression of damage. You don't want to count on, oh hey, don't worry, I'll live this turn as you proceed to eat 7, and it's oh, well, there goes that plan. So knowing what your deck can do and knowing situationally what you're going for, when you can spend your resources, what constitutes overextension, because I know one of the first regionals I went to, that was one thing I was constantly combating is I have a habit of overextending my plays, and I need to pull that shit back, because it's I don't need to go from 7 hand to 2 hand. If I have a reasonable amount of board and my opponent's not pressuring me, it's does my deck care if I have board? This particular deck at the time? No, it doesn't. Am I getting resources out of it? Yes. Alright, I don't care. You can kill my board next turn. I might kill my board my turn. It all depends.
Yep. Yeah, knowing what you can drop on the board, knowing what you can crash, what you can crash. Is it worth siding? Is it worth keeping stuff alive? all these things are really good to know, and you learn these things as you get reps in with your deck. Things like also how much stock in hand are you comfortable having, going for a finisher, going for multiple finishers, going for all of your finishers. What's your turn 1 play look like? Your turn 2 play? What's your mulligans? Mulligans, I think, are a big one.
Well, and that's especially true with the deck that I've been playing the last couple regionals, where going for finisher is not always the most optimal play because the deck is actually running more off its off finishers. Mm-hmm. But what your board state is going into that turn determines what do I go for. I mean, just like at locals last night, the 2 times I won was because of a encore step burn one.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And neither of my opponents expected that coming from the back row brainstormers.
Yep, playing Azure Lane at locals like a true villain.
No. Playing like a true villain was my last game, where I sent a man on my first turn from 1-0 to 1-4.
Yep. Please reference Pittsburgh Weiss Schwartz and Carmen's video on tri-fielding. Opinions on that, but that's what Azure Lane does. So we'll be using Mark as an example for how we go about prepping and how we go about figuring stuff out in the time leading up to the event. If you want good stuff, or like another good video for like learning and like knowing like, all right, what do I bring to an event? What do I do at the event? Hotels, other stuff. Clock Tower has a good video on that, going over like the environment, what you do while you're there, signing up, all that stuff. We're kind of the period of time before what they cover, so stuff like choosing a deck, choosing a set, choosing tech options, choosing other things, getting reps.
Well, and that can change drastically too, since we're going into Summerfest. It's a team event, which is very different than what I'd consider prep for
a singles
event. Mm-hmm. I mean, technically, we would be playing singles for Vanguard on
day 1. So, looking at this, we have the Bushi Road site open. Rosemont, we're checking our days here because we have a lot of people that are locals who play both Shadowverse. We have a good number of people who play Vanguard. Weiss being day 2 conflicts with teams for Vanguard, unfortunately for us. So a lot of us at our locals will probably be playing Vanguard singles on day 1 and then Weiss Schwartz on day 2, which means we do get teams for Weiss Schwartz. There's no singles for Weiss at this one. And then we also see side events are to be announced, to be determined. For this event, we have already booked our hotels, so we're already prepped for that. We've got that figured out. The next step after that is figuring out who's going and how many teams that we need to make. For our Grand Rapids crew, in general, it's like we have a pretty good number of people, and we have some people who actually do flex between Weiss and Vanguard, as well as Shadowverse if we really wanted to. That's a little more questionable. But
that's a bit of a stretch.
It's a bit of a stretch. If we really wanted to, we could probably do it. But we have some flex, so I believe we'll have 3 Weiss teams. Is it 3?
At least.
At least 3. We might have a 4th, depending on what team. There's a team there that will probably play Vanguard instead of Weiss. So we'll have 3 teams. We're figuring out how to split those. And we come to our first major thing. What set do you play when you show up to a regional event? For teams, the rules state that you cannot play the same Neo Standard as another player on your team. Mark and I will be a team, and we are pulling Bishy.
Yeah, I think we'll have Bishy.
Our local player Bishy. So, luckily, we do not have a lot of conflicting sets between our playable.
was going to say, the only people that have conflicting sets are you and I, but we already know
Yeah.
the set you're going to play has no conflict with me. So.
Exactly. So it makes it easy. So I'm personally bringing Bang Dream, assuming it dodges the ban list again. And even then, like, I think Bang Dream post, if they do give us a Worlds ban list, I think Bang Dream is still a pretty solid deck and solid pick. I have other options as well. I still have Hololive, as well as I'll be picking up Fujimi 2 when that comes out.
I mean, in fairness, last year we proved that the Bunny Girl hit didn't really matter.
Yeah,
that
Bunny
much.
Girl's another deck that we have access to. I have plenty of options to play for me personally, so I spend a lot of money on this game. That's just one of the privileges I get for spending money on this game.
The privileges of being a whale, ladies and gentlemen. It extends from the gotchas.
It extends, yep. Bishi has two primary options, and we'll do this exact same process with Bishi, most likely, as we see him over the next few weeks and months in prep for this, but he has picked up Girls Band Cry, as well as Freerun. Mark, you have two options, real big options as well, in Azure Lane and Nikke. So they don't have any conflictions there. That makes it very easy for our team. Our other team, primary team that's going,
is nothing but conflicts.
it's all conflicts. They have a guy who's basically locked into Bunny Girl.
Another guy who really likes Bunny Girl.
Who really would like to play Bunny Girl because he performed well with Bunny Girl at the last regional with it.
But if he goes Bunny Girl, the person who's more or less locked in on Bunny Girl probably needs to switch to Azure, which is what the third team member is probably going to be running.
The third member is playing Azure Lane. So they will probably have either a Psychono, or
I think their third might be Psychono.
it might be a Psychono.
There's a lot of options on the third person.
Yep.
But
There's a lot of, and like there's a few good ones there too. They just picked up Don. If they can find a list that they like in Don, that will be a pretty good pick.
I mean, that's a good point to stop at. But how exactly would you defining what decks are being played? Because when we played teams last year in Rosemont, arguably we had a tier 1 deck, and
Yeah, because I was on.
you and I were on probably tier 2, high tier 2 decks maybe.
Yeah. Again, you have to look at your tier list, but yeah, I was on 8 Salvage Hololive. Omar was on Bunny Girl, and you were on Azure Lane, which Azure Lane was in terms of the tier list, the lowest of the three. Even was that post hit? Was that post hit Bunny Girl?
Yeah, that was post.
Yeah, that was post hit Bunny Girl. And like Bunny Girl still performed throughout that season very effectively.
Like I said, that's why I made the comment. I don't think the hit hurt it.
Yeah,
it obviously does hurt it.
It does hurt it, but
it's not
it's not dominant everywhere all the time like it used to be.
It didn't knock it out, in my opinion, like a tier 1 slot.
Yeah,
It just knocked it down in that respective category.
down a half tier or whatever.
Because honestly, I'd say that hit did open up 2 slots for them to run some good tech
They
cards.
could run more,
and it
healers.
definitely helped Omar.
It definitely did help Omar. More healers, an off finisher, more memory. It's like all good options to throw into those last 2 slots that they banned.
But that's definitely something that I think is in consideration. Is
Yep.
everyone going to just be playing this high tier meta stuff, or do you have some team members kind of slotting in this weird tier 2? Hey, I'm here to just fuck with you, or hey, were you expecting to see this? Do you
Yep.
even know what this does?
Do you even know what I'm doing?
Like my one opponent in Top Cut who sided with his finisher Marine because he was afraid I had a backup
Yeah, he did
that
not
does
know.
not exist in Azure.
He did not know what Azure Lane 1 did. And that's a question that you also have to figure out when you're deciding your teammates. We already have a pool of players going to the Weiss Teams event, and our locals is lucky that we have a good number of players, and we have enough players to flex into a team slot or two. So we can actually have like a third team potentially if we, depending on who wants to play Vanguard and who wants to play Weiss. But a lot of players don't have that, and especially if you're traveling further out. So like our Clock Tower boys are traveling to Philadelphia next weekend. You had to bail on them, unfortunately, but I think they did find a third player.
To my understanding, yes.
Yeah, so they finished to find a third player, but now you have to, like, kind of...
Well, aren't we still in singles format?
Oh, yeah, right now we're in singles. So, that's later. That's next season, Philly. But that's a thing you got to figure out with your team for teams format. In singles, everyone's obviously trying their best, trying to win, bringing their A game, and just playing the absolute best that they can.
Sometimes.
For most of the time. This is the one time for Weiss that, like, you try hard, you go hard. It's like I'm not gonna
singles is technically where it matters.
Singles
teams is kind of where it still matters a little, but you're definitely more. Hey, I'm here to have a good time.
Yes,
and do
so
good.
You do have to figure that out with your team, and that, I think, is a big discussion. So the example of this, Colton from the Clock Tower, for the last Chicago team regional for summer 2025, brought 2 brand new fresh players as his 2 teammates. Colton was not expecting to go top cut or anything at this regional, and plus teams does not have that much prize support on the line compared to the singles event where you're trying to get to Worlds. So Colton brought a nice fun deck to play at that one. I think he brought... Did he bring Konosuba?
I was going to say, I think he was on Konosuba.
It's like he brought like a whiz restanding Konosuba list with like a burn event, with the burn events in it. Check out his Burn 5 video from the Clock Tower if you want to see that. Just referencing all the videos on this one.
Braden doing so many shout-outs today.
I've got the knowledge.
He's feeling generous. As opposed to last podcast where he's throwing major shade.
Oh, I will definitely throw shade at people. Just give me the option and I will. But yeah, so he went in with the expectation of the team's not going to have the winning record. He's going to bring something more fun, more casual. And that's something that you can talk with. I know this is a regional event and people are traveling, spending money on hotels. Entry is free, and we still thank Bushiroad for that. Free events are a phenomenal thing that sets Bushiroad apart from other card games, and we do love that and appreciate that. But it does lean itself open to, now you get casual players showing up to your events, which, like, if there's nothing on the line, you're not losing anything by entering, it's fine most of the time. There's usually enough people tryharding at these events that there's no complaint either. So it's like you will get your competitive edge if you really want it.
I was going to say, realistically, after about 3 rounds, you generally expect the filter to start applying. Mm-hmm. That the people that are at the higher end tables are generally your better players.
Yep. Yeah, usually halfway through the tournament, you'll see the divide between the good and, like, people having fun, people new at the game, people's first tournaments, stuff
if I'm
like
not
that.
mistaken, I'm pretty sure Colton's team still had an overall record of...
I think they were 3-3.
I was going to say, I thought they were 3-3, so I still, realistically speaking, they still did pretty good on the day.
Yep. Mm-hmm. It's like... But yeah, it's like, this isn't a team that were... They were 3-3 coming from the low side, which, like... That's how Bushiroad runs their tournaments. Sometimes you can crawl your way back up a little bit.
I mean, realistically speaking, that particular event, we were 4-2. We were
the top 4-2.
We were the top of 4-2, but we barely made top cut.
Yep.
I think that we were what was top cut? Top 16?
It was... Did they top 16 for teams? I don't think they top 16 for teams. It was top...
Because we played 3 rounds.
Yeah, top 8, top 4, top 2.
So it was top 8.
Yeah, top 8. Teams I think is always top 8.
Okay. So we just barely bubbled in at 7.
Yes, we were the number 7
seed. We
seed.
played this number 2 ranked team, which was a rematch for us.
Yes.
Which went differently because we lost the first time.
Yeah, we lost to them the first time. Oh.
I mean, you lost both times, personally.
I lost both. That was I was not ready for that match. Oh, no, that's a different reason.
We won't go down that rabbit hole, but...
Yeah, I did lose that matchup twice. I had a bad matchup into Nikkei that tournament. I had bad Nikkei matchups.
You didn't win a single Nikkei.
I did.
match
I
in that
lost.
tournament.
I lost all 3 Nikkei matchups in that tournament.
That aside,
Hololive doesn't exactly lose to Nikkei, but I've talked about that on the Clock Tower tournament report. So, you've determined your teams. You determined what power level you're bringing to the tournament, and now you know what set to bring, or you don't have conflicts at least. So you're trying to figure out what deck to bring. So, Mark, you have 2 options. You have Azure Lane and Nikkei. There are a few lists, though, that you have access to. So, over here, we have 4 lists. We can start with
the classic.
the prior list. This is the list off the 4th place finish that we had. This is the exact...
Which is the exact same list as the first place finish.
Exactly. So this is the same list that we won Chicago Team Regionals 2025 with. This is Pants Bar, Azure Lane. This is the list that I found a concept list for this out of a Japanese locals on YouTube that was playing the same climax lineup with a handful of other things lined up in this. So it's the Bremerton Pants cigarettes combo into the Shinano Mill 9. This is an Azure 1 list. We don't have Azure 2 in this at all.
Well, to be fair, this list existed before Azure 2, even when...
Exactly, yeah.
Even all the tournaments that we've gone
exactly.
to.
Azure 2 is fairly
recent.
fairly recent still in terms of the timeline. Going over this list, it's Cats, it's like 4 copies of Brainstorm, only 4 level 1s. The level 1 gains a soul if you mill at least a level 2 or higher.
Yep.
And we play, what is it?
Technically, it's X is 2 or
Yeah,
higher.
as
So
long
if
as
you do
X-
mill 2 Bremertons...
Yeah, if you mill 2
gets...
if you mill 2 Bremertons off your
If
one
you mill
that's
2
already on the
Bremertons off
Bremerton,
Bremerton, we have questions.
it's like, man, you're whiffing level 1 combo. So yeah, 4 level 1s only. This is, we can look at the ratios here. 23 zeros, 15 level 3s, and 4 level 1s. This deck is min-maxed all over the place.
Well, and you need a lot of 3s in Azure, because there's a lot of experience 8 cards.
Experience 8 to get all your off-finisher effects, kind of important. And then primary finishing line is a Shinano plus a Kronstadt plus
Something.
some other lane, usually a cat lane.
And you could do double Shinano. I definitely did that in one of my matches, and it paid big dividends, but if you don't have the right setup, the second Shinano is really just there for a heal.
It's just another healer. Plus, yeah, it's a lot of hand to proc that as well, because that's
if you're going to
ditch
double
2, ditch
Shinano
1.
plus a Kronstadt in a single turn.
That's ditching 5 cards, and you didn't plus any hand off playing any of those.
Correct.
So, pretty good. You've got big damage swings with Kronstadt restanding, so you've got big instances of damage, and then you got small ping 1s with Shinano, and
then you also have Unicorn.
And Unicorn if it comes up for more small instances.
I definitely in a couple matches I was banking on Unicorn. In some matches, double Unicorn sitting in the back row.
Yep. So
the only problem is you can't Unicorn and Kronstadt.
You cannot Unicorn and Kronstadt. You need full board for both.
Unless one of those kills a card.
One of those removes it. So very comfortable on the list. This is a set 1 list. This list also has room to be updated for set 2.
And it could also be updated for what's more going on with more
for stuff in the format. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
For other strong things in the format. So this would be our safe comfort pick. Decks similar to this. Decks just using the shell. There's a few techs in here, specifically like the John Barts. We don't need the 4th Unicorn if we're playing better stuff that like filters harder. Zara isn't exactly the most useful card in every matchup. It's there as like a hand, as like a way to keep hand up because this deck can bleed hand like nobody else.
And arguably, you could say the same thing about Concord. Sometimes just having one in the deck is enough.
It's like sometimes you don't need 2 Concord, sometimes you don't need 2 Akashi. So we have space. It's like we don't need the San Francisco. We can play the Washington.
You could arguably drop a Nagato because realistically,
we're
not really playing Nagato most of the time.
Yep, we can even switch out the Shinano for other finishers. There are other bar finishers that I think are better into the current format than Shinano right now. So there's plenty of space to work with this deck, with the Bremerton list, keeping most of like just Cats, Cleveland, Bremerton as like a core of a deck into a mixed color Azure deck between like mixed faction, I guess, because blue, yellow versus green, red.
Yeah, they leaned into that a lot harder in set 2, which makes a deck like this very
hard to upgrade.
Well, it makes it really hard to function because now that a lot of the cards are more focused on, hey, we're expecting you to make a blue-yellow deck or a red-green deck. Because I know one of the lists that I was kind of messing with in set 2 for Hindenburg.
Yep.
On the sim, can't tell you the number of times I'd go into my climax or go into attack step. And it's like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna rip 3 on this finisher. Game doesn't, or the sim doesn't ask me, do I want to pay the cost? It's like, wait, why didn't it ask me to pay? Oh, I have a blue card on board, which is the blue stock Brainstormer.
Oh, yep, the hand of stock.
Yep, the hand of stock Brainstormer. It's like, oh, well, son of a.
Yep. So color restrictions are definitely a big thing. Azure 2 does give us 3. It gives us 3 improved decks that we have seen perform well through the singles events in the like 6-7 standby 6-7 standby 1-2 choice. Yes, I will. I did make that reference, Mark.
You will die in the middle of this podcast.
Yep. So split list going into the unicorn finisher with a standby core. It's mostly just the standby deck running into like just 1 or 2 copies of the choice, depending on how scared you are of drawing into that choice. I don't know. I've never been the biggest fan of the 8 standby Azure core. Like I like the deck, but I don't think it's ever been a great Azure lane deck.
No,
I
know we saw it in Top Cut in teams, but that wasn't even true 8 standby. That was 6 standby 2 salvage.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. The biggest problem with the standby list is your finisher.
Yeah. Well, it's like you do your 1 whole turn of the Eugen. Is it Prince Eugen, or is it the for the level 3 that gives you top deck kick? Graf-Spree, yeah. Getting my German battleships mixed up. How terrible.
Well, yeah, because you have Graf-Spree as your finisher.
Yeah.
And the biggest issue with the standbys is you have to standby the card out with the standby effect in order to get the combo.
Yep. So Graf-Spree is a good combo. Global 15, good stat line.
When it comes out,
like
it reverses against the Alice
like
kick.
Everything gets top deck kick, so it's like it's a good. That turn is good. The problem with that deck was always the second turn after you Graf-Spreed, because most of the time what happened was either your entire board got answered, and you're in a hole because your entire board got answered, or you just won all 3 lanes of board, and you have nothing to top deck kick with your follow-up combo.
If you even have the follow-up combo.
If you even have the follow-up. Yeah, that's the second question. Which, like,
because a lot of
assuming
times
you did,
that was the issue you'd also run into, is where it's like you're just dirtling, banking on Rune defense to keep you alive.
Like Rune is a great card, but you have to trigger a standby on that turn to get the Rune out, because you have to stand by the Graf-Spree to do the combo.
I'm gonna say, and that's why a lot of times you'd see Drake in the list.
Yeah,
that was essentially your only way to get the big punch.
I'm actually surprised we didn't see more Ozma, just for the direct lane burn ones. Quick note, write that down for all you standby Azure lane players.
I think the biggest problem is trying to fit green into that list outside of Cats.
Yep.
Because generally that would be the only green that you'd see in the deck.
And you still need experience is the other problem.
Because they ain't running Nagato on that list.
You don't need Nagato. So, and then, out of set 2, that's basically just a set 1 list, but they threw in a finisher, so now you have a follow-up play after your Graf Spree turn. And Unicorn is just like the most advantageous one off what your deck has, because you have enough Soul Triggers, and it's a check 3, and so it digs for a Climax. So that's why Unicorn exists in that list. And it's like, yeah, it's a good deck, but that's not something I'm brave enough to take to a regional event.
I was going to say, I've seen it at locals. It seemed to perform fine, but
I feel like there's too much fail case, and
yeah, I was going to say it's very
unstable
in my
in
opinion.
a different way than a deck like this is unstable.
This deck is certainly unstable, but in a very, I think it's in a positive sense.
Yep.
I'm playing into that unstableness.
Yep, you're playing into damage variation.
And as I said in the Clock Tower report, this deck performs very well into Bunny Girl, surprisingly.
Yes, it doesn't give them
This
any time.
deck eats that deck.
As long as the game goes fast enough. If they start canceling, then you're scared.
Yes.
The other decks that got some love, we got 8 Pants, Big E, Big Enterprise. Enterprise, obviously a very scary finisher. Burn 3, swing for like 3, 4, or 5. Usually 4 or 5.
I was going to say, then the only big issue with Big E is she is one of the restricted cards. I'm pretty sure to get that burn 3, it has to be
It has to be a blue or a yellow
character.
So you cannot play our favorite cats.
Well, you can. You just pray to God you don't...
That's a really scary way to play Enterprise, to throw cats in Enterprise. I need to cook that a little bit and test that just to see how often that screws me over. But
Well, if I put them all in my hand...
if you get them all in your hand, it's like you can do that. So, but yeah, Enterprise...
But yes, it's a very risky play for cross
color stuff. And it's like, and they do give you a pretty good core of a deck for that. It's most people have been on Anchorage or Anchorage into the 2-0. Into Enterprise.
Which Braden's not brave enough to try and say a Russian ship name.
I don't even know what her name is right now off the top of my head. And then the third list that we are considering is an 8-bar list running the Infinite Hand Noishiro Sakura combo into an Ayanami combo. And yes, we are providing this information ahead of time, so you can in fact tech against Mark if you really wanted to. If you
this is also depending on what one of these 4 decks we're going to talk about that I actually want to that decide to bring.
Yep.
So, yes, we are laying the cards out on the table. It's going to be one of these 4.
It's going to be one of these 4, and you can net deck and tech against Mark if you really wanted to. So this is again cats. This deck, unlike the list that we won Chicago Lift, this one doesn't have to hold back on the cats ever. This one can just go and slam all the cats, because as long as you have Sakawa, and which means you have a Noishiro, you get all your hand back at your level 1 turn.
Which is definitely something you can't do with the previous deck. If
you cannot,
if you want to be greedy as hell and drop 5 cats, it don't pay dividends.
Yeah, you can't. It doesn't pay out sometimes. This deck, that can pay out in this deck a little bit. There's a few options in this deck. This is a list that I was cooking at locals. I have like this Notori in here as like a memory hate card, because we had a guy playing slime a lot at locals, and I was tired, like memory slime at locals, and I was tired of that. So I threw that in just to kind of reduce a little bit of that pressure.
Well, and
like
realistically speaking, if we expect to see more Saikano,
I'm not expecting to see Saikano. I'm expecting to see one of our locals play Saikano. Fortunately, like Oshi 2, Bang Dream, Nikkei, none of these things are really big memory decks. Memory decks aren't really a big thing right now. Eminence in the Shadow hasn't shown
we haven't
anything.
seen anything really.
We haven't seen anything, but nothing in the set has had memory conditions yet. So we doubt that's going to be a memory deck.
Deck has no memory conditions, proceeds to memory compress.
Proceeds to have all the memory. So nothing's really memory jamming. This was just a local tech. This is just a one of.
This is Braden putting in hate cards.
Yeah, this was Braden hating. We can actually fit one of the few good backups. Well, there's actually set 2 gave us a few good ones, but in set 1, this was like the only good backup. We have Shake Encounter in Azure Lane. People are not ready for Shake in an Azure Lane. Getting anti-change counter while Azure Lane's at 1 is absolutely devastating. Because not only that, they got to keep probably a Noishiro around to kill another thing. Other stuff, see cats, we see bar filter. This is 8 bar. You gotta get rid of those bars somehow. We're playing the Spawn Riki because it's green. It's on death. Just like we like on death Riki. We can play the 2-card Riki as well, the Aqua clone. That's an option. We're probably not playing, even though we don't have any color stuff in this deck. We're not playing Cleveland or the Soul Trigger one. That's a legitimate option, though.
We got the good Climax swap.
We got 2 copies of green Climax swap. I'm a huge proponent of 2 Climax swap in a lot of my decks. This deck probably doesn't need the 2, but well, actually, this deck probably does need the 2 because there's a lot of selection problems in this deck. Having 2 makes sure that we can actually see them enough. For top-end stuff, we're playing Ayanami. Ayanami is just a restander. However, it swings in at 12, 13 with the Climax and says no events. No events is really good in this format because Nikke is kind of good in this format.
Get tap countered or...
Yep. So you can get tap backupped, which we don't use that as a term, but like Hololive, Ainz both have backup tap counters. But the big threatening tap counter game in, game out is going to be Nikke's, and this just turns that off. Plus, it also turns off Oshinoko's tap counter if they play that. If they play the event package. I don't know. I haven't really looked too much into what they can jam into that list for set 2. I just know the finisher kills you and heals a lot. I don't know if they jam the event. But this turns off the event anyway. Other than that, we've got green experience filler. Bouncing cards is really good, especially bounce 2. This is also how we deal with turning off tap counter. It's also an off finisher sometimes, because sometimes we need to level an Ayanami for green experience. We have Golden Hind as a green-red deck Fumio. Instead of playing Washington, we're playing Golden Hind. Marco Polo is the other red experience to play Golden Hind. It's also just another early play healer. It's 10k. That's all we really care about. Akairu's another healer technically, but it's mostly green experience that I don't feel bad putting into a deck.
It's also an off finisher with burn.
It's an off finisher if you have a lot of stock. This deck can generate a lot of stock. It's not like it's really spending it for anything. I also personally own the SP Hakairu, so I always have 1 copy in the deck if I can fit green in. That's personal again. I-19 is bar filter. Because our back row is a Sakawa and a bar filter, our brainstorm is going to be a front row brainstorm. We're only playing 2. If you need it, you need it. And luckily, Sakawa, I think, is actually the better plussing card, like raw plussing card, than Noishiro. Sakawa, people are so afraid to give Azure Lane cats that they will literally give you any other thing, including finishers, early play healers, brainstorms, the backup, more copies of combo, and they'll give you the Riki, the Climax swap, and the Kasumis all day.
We're abusing psychological damage.
We are abusing the fact that people hate cats so much that they will never give you cats and they will give you everything else. And if you hit 2 cats, they gave you a cat anyway, and you're just insane because you still have cats. There's a few things that we can tech in and out of this. I probably would not drop any of the level 3 count, just because we still need to hit some level of experience.
Well, especially if you're going to actually play the Azumas, you do need 8.
You need experience 8. This, I believe, is also experience. Yep, the Hakairu.
Yeah, all the off finishers from
experience
set 1
8. Yep.
But
this is only experience 4, and this is 6. No, this is 7. So you do need experience 7 to actually get your power and your anti event.
That's kind of surprising, considering most of the finishers usually are 6.
Or 6. No, Ayanami is 7. And still has, like, the most middling on-play effect ever considered. Please buff Azure Lane.
Overall,
it's like the deck's very straightforward. It's a lot of 4-ofs. The deck doesn't have the selection power that other decks would have, but it generates a lot of resources. The only thing you can actually really select for outside of hitting this brainstorm is your Sakawa grabs the Noishiro. for a neutral hand, for like a neutral hand.
I mean, just guaranteeing the level 1 combo is really nice.
It's really good as long as it's in deck. And yeah, people will just like I said, it's psychological damage. At the end of the day, if they give you cats, you can just play cats. If they don't give you cats, you can just sit there and loop all your combo stuff. Noishiro combo is notorious for triggering bar or leaving a bar as your next trigger, which means if you sequence your attacks properly every turn, you can almost guarantee that you cancel on 1 or 2 for your opponent's first swing every turn, giving you massive damage swing, like giving you massive swings and canceling and like damage leads that like you wouldn't expect from a deck playing. Or it's like it just amplifies the effect of what Cats does, where it's like Cats puts your opponent way up into mid-level 1 really fast. Then you Noishiro combo, and suddenly you're canceling on 1 every turn. And it's like, oh, they just can't deal with that, because you just keep going, as long as you can find reverses. I-19 helps you find a few of those, and it's also a bar filter. So that's Azure Lane. Obviously, we can cook between the two lists. We have all types of other options. It's like Kasumi's the one I threw in here because it's a 3K and it like checks 6. It gives us a little selection in a deck with none. We don't need Notoris. We can play a lot with this level 3 lineup. We have to do play testing with Mark, of course, and this is where a lot of the play testing comes in.
Well, this is why you give yourself ample time to play test, because you can come in with a shell, and it's like, okay, well, this is... I like where these cards are doing for me in a lot of the matchups that I'm playing. I don't feel like these are doing enough, or, hey, I think I could draw back on one of these. Why don't I try throwing in... And this is also a good question on, do I go for more consistency with what my deck's doing, or do I feel like it needs some tech cards? I personally am kind of on the fence of... At what point is having too many tech cards basically making your deck? Because I remember
destroying the consistency.
Well, I remember sometimes like talking with people and like, oh yeah, I got all these tech cards, and they lay them all out. It's like, you have 13 tech cards. What the hell are you teching against?
Trying to tech, like having like 2 techs against every single deck in the format is not a good way to play Weiss.
Well, personally, how much consistency you're giving up for all of these niche little scenarios, too.
Yep.
But, I mean, obviously, depending on what the format is, yeah, your deck has its core, but sometimes you need a couple of cards where it's like, hey, if I hit this matchup, it goes poorly, but if I have this card, and I only realistically might need it as a one-of, it works in other matches, perhaps, if I need it, but it's really... It really changes
a matchup. So like yes, so it's like this is the big Notori argument. Yes, Notori is there to pump power, so I can get more reverses. But I have it in there. There's plenty of other power pump in Azure Lane.
There's a lot of power.
There's a lot of power pump. I don't need more power pump. I can change this out, and that's what like the Kashino's the difference between these 2 tech cards. These are both the one-ofs in the deck that are not at the top end. These I level up this Hikaru more than I play it. But the 2 one-of techs that like I would expect to play like some amount, Kashino is like a very generic, it's anti-change counter, it's very cheap to play, it swings matchups, versus Notori helps me sometimes find reverses when I can't find reverses at 9,000 power or like 9.5. It's like, do I really need to go up to 11k or like 11.5? Depending on my board setup, it's like at that point, why am I going for Noshiro and why am I not just slamming more Sako on the board or Cats? Notori was there as like a weird Mimi tech to make sure that my one local player didn't have 10 memory with Slime. It's like, and that's the only reason it was in there.
Well, and realistically, you can't really bank on Notori swinging a Bunny Girl matchup because the threshold's too high.
Yeah, so it's like, it doesn't help me into like a Bunny Girl. It's like, yes, this could help me in 2 matchups. Memory Slime, which hasn't seen play in years now, at like the top level, or like at a consistent rate, or Psychono, which shows up slightly more often with a memory deck, But again, the amount of people in the field playing Memory Psychono, Memory Gersaya, Memory Hololive, Memory anything, is so low compared to the rest of the field that this Natori is not really doing anything. Kashino, on the other hand, anti-change counter, every deck, including its own deck, has early plays, and a lot of decks right now are, like, a lot of the good decks right now are playing very game-swinging, impactful early plays that I do not want on my board, on their board. Things like Alice, Sin. This does deal with Biscuit for Nikke. So, like, all 3 early play level 3s, Modernia as well. So, all 4 level 3s in Azure Lane, or not Azure Lane, in Nikke, we don't want on the board at any given point. So, this answers one of them and gives us an open lane for something like a Cat, Cosme, like an Akashi. A set Sakura is actually phenomenal in the open lane. Overlord is probably, like, the biggest reason to play an anti-change counter.
Gotta keep Ainz on his toes.
Yep. If you're playing into Overlord and you see it sitting across from you, if you see your opponent with an Overlord deck box, mat, sleeves, anything, they've got a Bone Daddy pin somewhere on their bag, when you mulligan and you see Kashino, that's in your hand. And it stays in your hand. That's the type of card, that's the type of matchup check that is.
But Braden, that's profiling.
It
I
is.
thought profiling was wrong.
Profiling is still legal, just not morally accepted. If you can
There's a
profile
quote for you.
if you can profile your opponent and what they're playing, use that to your advantage.
This is why you keep them on your toes with what you're putting on the table.
This is why all my Quince decks have Hololive sleeves on them, just to throw them off a little bit. But Kashino,
realistically, Kashino is probably the weakest into Ave, because the only thing you're early playing in Ave is your stock healer.
Yeah, it's
which
like
you could loop, but
like, you could loop that, but also you can just kill that with a Noshiro. Funny enough, because that thing gains no power on the Azure Lane turn.
So I was gonna say, of the meta decks, I think that would be the weakest, where Kashino's not really doing much for you. But
yep. Kashino also, though, like, because especially in teams, you're gonna run into all types of stuff.
Oh yeah.
The big one that I managed to get Mark the experience for was the night before the tournament. I played the Pants Choice Blue Archive deck, which is a spam early play deck, and round 1, I was like, oh, you're not going to fight this. And then round 1, what's he fight? Pants Choice Blue Archive. And yes, we were not playing Kashino in this list. We're not playing the early play. That's a thing that we've considered for a long time, is like the 5th level 1, the secret tech. And it's become kind of a joke that this deck doesn't play any backups.
Got to throw Carmen off his game.
We got to throw Carmen off his game. He called that out immediately once he knew that I was the creator of the deck, which is hilarious in tournament. But yeah, that's a deck that would really hate to lose a lane to a Kashino like that. And then just any other, like, there's early plays all over. This is like having a 3-card money counter, like just ditch 3 overall to money counter somebody, and it's like, that's just good enough a lot of times.
Well, especially in a deck like this where you can build hands so
rapidly. You can refund that hand.
I know a lot of times where I've played Noshiro and it's like, oh, I gotta ditch 3 cards at the end of my turn because I plus that hard.
It's like I triggered Bar and I added 3 off combo, and then I had a Sako in the back row that also plussed me 1. And it's like, oh, I've got, what do I do with all this hand? So that's the shell. At least will be Cats, Hanazuki, Noishiro, Sakawa into probably Ayaname. We're looking at some other top end stuff. It doesn't have to be this bar.
I was gonna say Shinano honestly is still a very relevant finisher.
Yep, Shinano. We can tech it hard enough into blue to fit this top end into this shell. It's like, that's a thing that we'll consider. We've got another set though, and here we've got Carmen's list. This is 1 card different than Carmen's What tournament was it? It was Chicago singles.
Chicago singles.
This was Chicago singles. This was Carmen's list. The only difference is we swapped out one Red Hood finisher for the Crown finisher.
You mean Brainstormer?
Or Brainstormer, yep. I wish Crown had a finisher. That'd be great.
I mean, Crown only has this one card, and it's a freaking
it's a promo. It's a promo, but it is the check 3 Brainstorm.
It's also cracked.
It's also a check top.
I was gonna say, start a climax, check top with a check 3 Brainstormer. Take anything.
Yep,
it's so good.
I also have thrown one of this into my Nikkei lists, into my rotating apples list. So this is the list that we stole from Carmen with one card changed. Pretty standard list. If you really want the deep dive on this, you can go and read Carmen's master post. I don't know if that one's in all caps. And that changes things. I think it has to be in all caps. It should be. But go read his list. He goes into everything you could ever want for this deck, how it runs, what you're looking for, what you're doing at every point in the game.
And people would argue that this is the meta Nikkei
list.
He topped with it. So
exactly. He won with it. Unfortunately, this deck hasn't converted super hard since Carmen has topped with it. I don't know what Carmen was playing or if he's gone to other events. Besides, the next one he would do would be Philly, would be the next closest one for him. I don't know if he did Toronto, but
I think after Chicago he took a break.
I think he's on a break for tournaments. He might show up at Philly. I don't know. That's pretty close to the Pittsburgh guys. But abusing the Modernia tap counter,
Alice,
jamming Alice as much as you possibly can. You've got a memory punch
back row.
Yep. Again, this is the exact same anti-change counter as Kashino, except this one sends to stock, so it's technically a little bit better because you cannot whiff this one. It's good to know that Kashino, here's the secret matchup tech. If you're at 0 clock, they can't anti-change you.
Good old shaken for you.
That's shaken, the clock shaken. Modernia, abusing the Modernia. You can switch between a 1k1 style deck and a standby deck, depending on what the deck has kind of given you. You can kind of work it out a little bit to be more of a 1k1 deck, or you can make it play out as like a nice, good board-based standby deck.
Well, and Modernia is so wonderful at level 1 with the plus stock potential.
Yeah, you can have these massive stock turns, very similar to like Chloe in the Hololive decks.
And she gets power cross turn. So
it's a 6k cross turn. If you rip the standby, you get the Rosanna out. That's 7-5 cross turn. Most decks can answer that, but there are a few decks that struggle. And really struggle.
I'm looking at you, Dragon Maid, and your 6-5 nonsense.
Yep.
I can win one lane.
I played that matchup yesterday. Unfortunately, Colton could not answer 7-5 Modernias.
Were you playing Nikkei yesterday?
I was playing this list yesterday.
I thought you were playing Ave.
No, I was not. I was playing a different broken list yesterday.
Okay.
I have a few other techs in my thing. I went up to 3 events just so I could see it more consistently. I lost a 0 somewhere in there. I'll probably lose another one. I'll probably be down to like 1 delta. I'm only on 1 backup. I need to switch it from Dorothy to that. But that's just my list and one of what I felt most comfortable with. I might reduce a biscuit. I might go down to 1 biscuit even. But again, techs, matchup stuff, what do you feel comfortable with? A lot of this shell feels really good, of course. Like, resolving Modernia always feels really good. Resolving Modernia with Rappy feels phenomenal whenever you do it.
And your Brainstormer's in the front row.
Yep, Brainstorm's mostly in the front row. Like, we do have the 1 check 3 Brainstorm, but most of the time it's going to be Jackal. 5-card Brainstorm's pretty good.
Well, especially once you start getting to the late game, you're not having... Your back row is just power pumping.
Yeah, your back... Like, it's a standby deck that doesn't care about anti-change counter for losing damage, really. Yes, they can anti-change an Alice. I'm like, yeah, that sucks, but... all your standby targets go to the back row, and it, like, feels really good. Or, like, you can standby Alice and Biscuit over things in the front after you've already gotten a Sin, or, like, Sin Rosanna in the back, or a double Sin in the back. Your back row slots are very flexible in this deck. the turn cycle of hitting a standby in the back, pushing forward, standby the next turn, something in the back, push it up. Feels really good. Modernia pluses. It's got tons of soul triggers, tons of 2s. Tap counter's broken. Tap counter that's also a +6 soul sometimes is really broken.
No, and the Modernia has Icy Tail on it.
Yep, and you got Icy Tail. You've got guaranteed damage. Like,
I mean, if you're going to be using Biscuit, you got guaranteed heal plus a burn 3 if you're climax combo.
Yep. Well, it's a burn 4.
It's a burn 4. Okay.
Yeah.
But realistically, this deck, structurally wise, outside of a lot of the power pumping, kind of has a lot of the same feel as the base Azure list, where it has at the top end the, hey, am I behind and I need to push? I have options for that.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, do I just need to poke my opponent to death until they just fall over? We have that option
Do I need to deal 3 burn 1s, or do I need to deal 10 damage?
Yep.
And we have...
And having that versatility in the deck is very scary, because that's the one thing that you don't really have in the 8-bar Azure 2 list with the triple Ayanami. It's like, what am I doing? I'm punching. I'm punching
going.
really hard.
Yeah. The only difference you get at the top end is maybe I can Golden Hind and maybe I don't.
Well, maybe you could Ozma.
It's like, yeah.
Ozma also gives you the option for poking.
Yes. Yeah, so this is the small damage option. We got 2 damage option. We don't have the soul triggers, really, because I-19 is presumably on the board, and 2 or 3 Ayanamis are presumably on the board. And then 3 of these are in your level.
Yep.
This deck, if we pull up the deck stats here, it'll show us the soul trigger count. It says we have 14. Yeah, that's a giant lie. In reality, we probably have like 9 workable soul triggers at any given time, let alone what's in your stock. We make up for that by just jamming Climax every turn and having access to cats.
So realistically, that's the same would be true if we went and look. Well, it's a little bit different, but the same would be true if we look over here. All the soul triggers are right there in the 3s.
Yep, they're all in these 3s. Now this one, unfortunately, we have 15 level 3s, which is 19 soul triggers because we also have 3 pants climaxes.
But realistically speaking, there's a lot more chances for soul, but it's still not crazy like you'd expect to see in something.
This deck doesn't get soul from soul triggers. This deck gets soul from milling a level 3 and being on cats.
I mean, how many soul triggers are in this list here? I mean, since we've already
since we've looked at it,
looked at the stats,
this one's on 22.
So there's a pretty good chance you'll see. Well,
you see quite a few.
You're going to have a lot of level 3s on board, but you realistically aren't going to have any in your level like the Azure lists are.
Yes. So yeah, usually your first level is like a Scarlet or like.
I was going to say it's usually red.
It's usually red because you just
you're going
need
to shove yellow in at some point.
Yep, yellow. That's why the Tia is super nice. And then if you really need it, I've seen it happen. Sometimes you'll end up with the blue in there. Sometimes you'll end up with the Climax swap in there. Climax swap can always put itself in. That is a valid option, as long as you have another character on the board still. And then, so this is the Apples list. We can go, people have already gone in depth on this, and by people I mean Carmen. You can check out his blog post on that. We have another option, and this is a more personalized option for us.
Personalized option and a more, hey, I'm just here to dick around option.
Yep. So we see a lot of similar core stuff. We see Modernia, we see Jackal, we see Helmet Delta. We could probably split that to like 2-2. We see.
Well, I was going to say this isn't the exact list, but this is just kind of what mine is kind of based on.
Yep. Instead of Tia, we have blue, or more triangle colored, as opposed to 2 colored with like blue in the deck. This is much more 3 color. So we have the Folkwong in there.
Which realistically is only in there for 1 card.
Yep, it's there so we can actually play Snow White Innocent Days, and because we are playing Snow White Innocent Days, you can make the assumption that we are playing Red Hood with the combo. So, what does this deck do that the other Nikke list doesn't do? Or let's look at what it does that the other list does do. So, things that are similar, the Zero lineup, almost identical in terms of like how it kind of plays out. Big thing here, we're playing a bounce back as like an accelerate for a clock plus, and we're up more on the brainstorm as like another clock plus. I would probably increase this. I would probably be running the Scarlet still, the Check 6 Scarlet, just
Yeah.
because I think this card's insane. It's really good. It works really well with the Modernia combo, because it also gives you that Check 2.
I was gonna say about the only thing I found that I really enjoy about the yellow bounce back is on that level 1. If you want to save your Modernias,
Yeah, you can Modernia.
which
Accelerate
you also have
Modernia
Rapunzel
again.
for too, which gives the center lane
Yep.
hand encore.
Yep, so you can hand encore them. So yeah, we don't have the standby option, of course, being 8 salvage, so we do not get to sit there with 7/5 Modernias on a triggered standby, because we're not looking for that. We don't play any of the 2/2 because we would have to actually pay the cost of 2/2 and not cheat by playing standby. Modernia combo, we're just leaning up into Modernia, so we still have deltas for check 2, we still have Rappies for choosing trigger. Helmet's obviously still really good. This replaces Tia, except it's blue.
And it can grab the event.
This can grab the event, which is a big plus over the Tia. This, however, cannot grab other zeros like Rappy and Delta,
Correct.
which is where the Tia is really good. Tia can grab Scarlet, Riki, which is really good. But this can grab Brainstorm, because it's level 1. We're on 4/4. Still for Alice. Alice is still good enough, especially because we do play a 2K frontal assist. So the Alice is actually bigger initially, as long as we have the so like Snow White plus Alice is actually bigger than a single Global 15 plus Alice in this deck. Obviously, if they get double back row, they're now 1K bigger. But that's how that works. They have double 15 out. They're just kind of rolling on you a little bit.
I was going to say, and if you do have Rapunzel, I don't remember if she's frontal assist 500 or global assist 500. Global assist 500.
Yeah, this one.
Yep.
Frontal 5.
Oh, is it frontal?
Assist, yeah.
Okay, frontal assist 500.
Yep.
So you could potentially have an Alice sitting at, what, 12.5?
Yep, so you can have a
In the
12.
center?
Yep, center Alice is 12.5. With hand encore, which is like really gross, actually.
Yes, I love that some days.
However, if we really need to, it's like that's Alice sitting defensively. That's not what we're here for. We're here to play Red Hood. That's why we actually have this as well. I would actually probably go up to 2 helmets so you can actually double early play as like a more effective thing. So Red Hood gains 4/5.
She gets clock kick and power.
Yep, just she does not gain anti-backup, anti-event with that 4/5 like we've seen that before. However, she also will always have the Snow White, because the Snow White lets you early play it. It's effectively a full board early play. It's effectively the same condition as the Alice 4 or more. It's just the Snow White doesn't count itself. That's why it's 3 or more other. So in front of the Snow White, Red Hood gets plus
I was going to say, you're not dropping climax
you don't
until
drop the
3.
climax, so it's plus 4/5, so you're 13/5, 14/5, you're 15/5. And then Red Hood, when it goes to memory at the end of the turn, it gets clock kick for that, so you get to hard remove everything as like an actual damaging effect. Alice top kicks, this one clock kicks, so it's like they can't even cancel out. And then if you drop the climax while this is a memory, pay 3, ditch 2, put it back out, it gains the power and clock kick again, and then burn 1 2 times. So you get burn 1, burn 1. We still have a Modernia plus tap, because that's really good.
Braden, you forgot to mention one of the other cool things that Snow does in this deck.
Yeah,
gives
so all your doors have a soul trigger on them, so yeah, that's just damage. There's more damage. Why not? You can't double it. Cannot double
You
it.
can't double Snow,
Can't-
no,
can't
because then
have
it
double.
cancels out all the effects.
Yep, so you cannot have 2 soul triggers on your salvages. But yeah, it gives them soul trigger, which is really nice, so it keeps your damage push really good, especially on the turn where you Red Hood with no climax. The next turn you follow it up with the climax.
I was going to say, realistically speaking, my goal anytime I'm using this deck is to get 2 Red Hoods into memory by the time we get to level 3, and pull at least 2 of them out, because then we're getting 4 burn 1s.
Yep, 4 burn
which
1s.
feels fantastic.
And over the course of like 2 or 3 turns, you got 2 clock kicks. You're getting 4 clock kicks effectively.
Yep.
Deck does have weaknesses. Deck does have counterplay.
It leaves open lanes.
It leaves open lanes. 6K, as good as that is a line, does not hold board against anything, like, ever.
No.
It's kind of why noise is in here, kind of like a stopgap sometimes. Bouncer, sometimes you need the bouncer. I think it's really good for that. You can't sit there and still jam Alice heals and, like, do stuff like that where it's like, oh, jam Alice heal, helmet, open lane again, Red Hood. So it's like now you've got a nice 12k Alice, and then your Red Hood goes to memory. 12k Alice is a very threatening body on board. 12.5 Alice with a hand-on core is an incredibly threatening body on the board. Modernia with hand-on core is incredibly threatening on the board as well. So, like, the Rapunzel, it's a nice little niche tech thing. Like, I think, Mark, you mentioned this a minute ago. Yeah, you can keep Modernia alive for a follow-up Modernia turn.
I was going to say, it just feels really good sometimes when you try field, and been a couple of games where I have all 4 Modernias in hand, so it's just like, well, if I can just hand on core 1, I still have the other Climax.
Yep.
Slam it down, I get a guaranteed 2.
Yep, so you can go triple into 2, and it's like, that just feels really good. That's a lot of stock, especially because presumably you have Rappy as well.
I mean, realistically speaking, this deck does need a lot of stock.
Yes. Yeah, you do need a lot of stock.
It is very greedy.
So, it takes 1 stock just to get this on the board. You need to fill your board up again. So 2 stock to play it the first time, and then 3 stock, 2 because it paid for 1 of it by attacking. So it's effectively, this is a 4 stock to clock kick twice, burn 1 twice, depending on how you want to do that Weiss math for stock and attacking. It's over the course of 2 turns, so you can kind of justify the way of saying 4 stock, 3 cards, 2 clock kicks, 2 burn 1s. And that's a pretty decent finisher line for just a singular lane over the course of 2 turns. Effectively 4 burn 1s. There's like 4 instances of damage. Doing it a second time, like, again, really good. That's a lot of stock to pay, though, in 1 shot. That's 6 stock. You got cards. And 4 cards from hand. Plus you played the Climax. 5, because you need the Climax on board. And you need to do that after you just paid 4. Effectively the turn after you paid 4, 5 to field the whole board.
Oh, and you also need to take into account if you're double playing on the same turn.
Yeah, if you're double
sacrificing
playing,
a card.
It's like you're probably helmeting for 1. It's like that's the optimal line, is that you helmeted for 1. The suboptimal line is you played over like your Reiki and then plussed off of it, hopefully.
Yep.
I've seen you do that play before, which is pretty good. Going into, it's like, so 2 double, say, like, the line, and like, this is just us going over decks and math at this point, but 2, say, presumably, if you have all the selection that you needed in hand, to play 2 Red Hoods, both go to memory, and then to spawn them out again the following turn.
Assuming we went to 3.
Assuming you went to 3. And like,
sometimes we don't go to 3, and it's like, okay, now we have to
you
diddle around.
You dirtle, because, yeah, this memory spawn condition needs you to be at level 3. 5 stock to play the first set. You gained 3 for attacking 3 times. We're at... So, like, you needed 5, you gained 3. So you actually paid for 1 by attacking 3 times. So you need 8 stock on your first level 2 turn. On the level 2 turn. And that's assuming you didn't play Modernia or an Alice. You're just holding up whatever, and you didn't play either of these. So 8 stock on the level 2 turn, and we can pretty safely assume that you'll get all the hand that you would need to resolve.
I was going to say that's the one nice thing with this deck is very rarely are you starving hand.
Yeah,
I mean
you do not need to field anything on the board to spawn these out. These effectively just recur themselves. So the Ditch 2 is kind of refunded by them becoming the attacker. So you don't have to actually field the card.
Yeah, because essentially, if you realistically think about it, in order to do the combo, it's realistically just pay 1, pitch 1.
Almost.
Because outside of that, you've already paid 2 and the card itself.
Yeah, you get 2 attacks. Yeah. So getting 8 stock by level 2. If you get a good 0 turn and you hit 2 Modernias, yeah, you can get there pretty easy. If you hit 2, because you're spending a stock early,
I mean, that's the other nice thing about some of these cards in the lineup. This doesn't.
Yeah, so like this is the only stock cost in the early game. This, if you want
Technically,
to swap your climax, but if you mulligan and open Modernia, you're fine. But yeah, none of these actually cost any stock.
Outside of Delta. Technically, you have to pay one for the climax swap on Scarlet.
For this. But yeah, this is a Clock Plus that also does not cost one. So if you want to brainstorm, that's a stock. You can also reduce the stock by 1, and you get to, by reducing the stock by 1, you can double field it from hand for the level 3 turn. You spawn one out and then just field the second one from hand. So that is another play. You lose out on a burn 1, you lose out on a clock kick and 2 burn 1s. So you do lose a lot of damage.
You still get the clock kick.
But that's right. You still get you lose out on 1 level 2 clock kick.
Yes.
So you lose 3 of the 8 burn 1s that you would have had for double fielding this, and like that's when you say it like that, it's like, oh, that's 8 burn 1s. Yeah, that's a lot of burn 1s.
Well, and realistically speaking, this deck does not want to see your opponent with open lanes, because then it's like, what's Hood hitting?
Yeah, they make the game real easy for you at that point, because then you only hit the 1 open lane.
Which, it's not the worst thing in the world, because if they're leaving open lanes, it's like, I'll just play Alice.
You just play Alice, exactly. Yep. You just heal.
I'll play Noise.
You play Noise, and now they can't play events, and you got an open lane. Or it's like, oh, look, a Modernia again.
It's not the through line that I'm going for, but it's like, okay, if that's the way it's going to shake out, I'm not.
Yeah. The other advantage is that you don't need the climax in play on the turn, like the first turn that you play this, so you can actually Modernia combo again that turn.
Yep, I've done that before.
Yep, so you can actually do the 2 turns of Modernia with your suddenly clock kicking 1 lane, or 2 lanes even with the 1 lane, and that really helps your stock conversion. There's some stability things, like I would probably rework this 0 lineup a little bit more to be more like the Apple list, just because I think this 0 lineup is so good. There is something to be said about the stock thresholds, where you can't afford Scarlet. We don't need the Brainstorm, really. Helmet was probably really helpful in this one, just because Helmet helps you find the things that you need.
Well, and then the downside is how do you fit in Tia when you need blue?
Yep, you need blue, so it's like we have...
Like, what other options would we have in blue? I mean, that's all stuff that we could find out.
Exactly, and it's like, instead of running this, like, we can go up to 4 Black Shadow, which is like, that's a real... That's 4 copies of a Clock Plus. That doesn't cost any stock. Now, it's a really rough Clock Plus. It's look at 2, take a level 1 or lower. Yeah, level 1 or lower, which, like, it hits on Modernia, which is all you need it to hit on, but...
Is that the same clock? Is that the same as the Lucoa?
This is the... So this is on Death versus Lucoa is on Reverse.
Yes, Lucoa is on Reverse, I know that, but it's the same effect where you...
Yes, it is the same...
You punch yourself, check 2.
It is the same plus. This could have been Kurami. This could have been on Reverse cigarettes. Punch yourself cigarettes. But that would be really good.
We don't need to scare the players too much now.
I know. Now we're getting to theoretical cards. But so yeah, this is what Mark's got for his options, and what we'll do is we can actually have both Azure lists built at one time. There's not enough overlap to hamper.
You underestimate my power. I can have both the Nikkei lists built at the same time too.
So we could. Mark is confident that he can have both Nikkei lists. He's got 8 Alices apparently floating around somewhere.
I like how that was the card that you immediately
like. 8 Modernias.
I was going to say the 8 Modernias was the struggle point initially.
Yep, so he's got 8 Modernias and 8 Alices floating around. So,
and thank God we don't need so many of the level 3 Modernias.
Yeah,
we don't have those.
We don't have it. Like, that's a TD card. We didn't open enough TDs for that.
Nope.
So we can go through, and what we'll do is we'll go through each of these decks. We'll probably sleeve them up just as like these very basic, very first draft things. This one's not a first
That
draft.
one's not
but,
a well, it could definitely see some changes.
but
like I
this
said.
can see changes. So
We've
it's
talked about some updates.
Yep, and what we'll do is we'll go through these. And it's like we'll look through some more cards. We'll look through. It's like, all right, what's in the format? What, like, are we struggling into Bang Dream and Overlord? And it's like, are we doing really good into Nikkei? It's like, okay, we have that. What do we change? What do we not need? What do we do need? We don't need the memory here. It's like, do we need more of this?
Like
do we
we've
need more
talked about
brainstorm?
before, too, in teams, there's such a much, arguably, wider field of decks that you're going to
Yes.
see that you can't hyper-focus on just what the top
Unlike
of the
the
meta
top-
is.
yeah.
Because I remember running into decks I was never expecting to see. Like you said, oh, hey, look, it's Pants
It's
Choice Blue Archive.
It's
And then I ran into Persona 3, and it's like, I've never seen Persona 3.
it's like, I don't know what you do in
I don't even
Persona
know
3.
what you do. And then I look over and I'm just like, oh, thank God, Brady keeps seeing all the meta stuff. He
I
knows
know.
meta.
It's like, thankfully, I'm in seat 1 and I'm in seat 1 or seat 3, and it's like, man, I see all of it. I think we had Omar in seat 1 for that one.
Was he in...
Was I in seat 1 or was he
I was in
you were
seat 2 because
were
I
in
was
seat
sitting in the
2.
middle.
I might have been seat 1.
I thought you were seat 1.
And it's like, I saw tryhards all day.
And that's the other thing that you take into consideration, too, when you're doing teams. You could theoretically argue putting your best player in the third slot. It's just like, all right, we're guaranteeing a... Theoretically,
like,
you're guaranteeing a win every round.
The secret is that your seat doesn't matter. I'm gonna say that your seat doesn't matter. Everyone's gonna be tryharding, and everyone's gonna be the carried in the bag. Your goal is to just not be in the bag.
You want to be that person that's not screwing them over.
Yep. So yeah, we'll go through these lists, and what we'll do is when we go to our weekly locals is we will basically, so our locals is usually 4 rounds. 3 rounds for
3.
or 3.
I don't remember
Vanguard's
the last time we did 4 rounds.
Vanguard gets 4 rounds every so often. We usually get a game in beforehand, though.
That's because your TO just likes playing.
The SRTO does like playing the game.
Well, of these lists, it's
Yeah, so it's
a
like-
very interesting spread because arguably we have a tier 1 deck and a bunch of tier 2 decks.
Tier 2 stuff, yeah. Funny, we have 2 regional winning decks here, funny enough, but one of these is definitely different than the other. But
One
yeah,
of them was a winner in singles, the other was a winner in teams.
and it wasn't carried. This is the one that did carry.
It did indeed carry. No losses in Top Cut.
Yep. We'll go through. Mark will sleeve these up. He'll bring them to locals.
Even play him on the sim.
Like, he'll play them on the sim. The Weiss sim's still really good at getting a lot of games very quickly in, even if it's against bots.
Well, even just making changes to your deck, too, because then you don't have to unsleeve cards, go find the cards,
go find
put the cards in the
put it
deck.
in, put your old cards back like a good player. Braden doesn't do that and is just missing cards all over the place. Finds them 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years later, and it's like, oh, that's where that went. Good thing I bought 4 more copies of it at full price.
Like a good player
Like
does.
a good player. I've now got 12 copies of some stuff. That means it's happened twice.
No, that just means you bought a case and then you bought another
and
set.
then I got another playset of it. Yep, I've done that too. But yeah, he'll bring it to locals. He'll play it through. He'll see what he likes, what he doesn't like. Our locals is now making the decision as a locals to start stepping up. We're not bringing the whole fun stuff as much. We're still playing. We're still having fun playing. That's the whole goal here. Have fun playing.
If you're not having fun playing, you should really reconsider what you're doing.
Exactly. Go play Yu-Gi-Oh! Or something. You heard that from Braden.
I second that.
He seconds it. It's like we are in agreement here. We'll start playing these decks, seeing what we like. Small changes, I think, are very important. You do not want to make large, sweeping changes. You want to get multiple games in per deck before you make a change. Usually you want to see, I would say, 3 games. Unless something is really glaringly obvious to you that's like, okay, this is not working. This is obviously not doing what I need it to do, like something like this Notori, where I can see it's like, okay, I don't field this Notori. I never have an opportunity to field this Notori. Even in the memory matchup, why do I need Notori? there's things where it's like, okay, I want to see 3 games on this before I like, all right, what do I make this Notori? Do I make it another Brainstorm just so I have access to Brainstorm and more selection? Does this become a drop search? Does this become Zara? Does this become another Clock Plus? Do I need to find level 1 pieces? Do I need to find level 3s? Does it need to become a level 3? Am I missing experience? An experience fixer, like, that's another option. It's stuff like that. Usually 3 games and then a small change. And that's the big advantage for doing this early. We have 2.5 months. Three months.
Realistically, we have almost 3 months.
We have, yes, yeah, it's the 14th and 15th. So yeah, we have 3 months to make changes, to make adjustments. I'll be gone for at least 2 locals, maybe a third local. I think I'm gone for 3 locals in
and as I said
May,
at the beginning too, you want enough reps in your deck that you're not uncomfortable with making decisions. You're not thinking, well, wait a minute, what options do I have in my deck? What can I still do? You should have enough playtime with a deck before you go to regionals where you can reasonably say, I know what every single card in this deck does. I realistically know what I'm doing every single situation.
Yep.
And sometimes you may have options, and it's like, I have to think about which is the right one to go for with, the classic Azure list. I think I always told you I never had to think about anything that I did with this deck until I got to level 3.
Yep.
My finisher turn is the only turn I had to stop and ask myself,
think about what's happening.
What do I need to do? Do I need to push my opponent harder than hell? Or do I just need to poke him into the hole?
Is my opponent going to eat swings for 3 and 4 and 5?
How many climaxes in waiting room? 1? How many cards in deck? All right, we're not sticking much of anything unless I know there's a lot of climaxes in their stock.
Yep. And it's like, unfortunately, Azure does not have stock swap, which is a very real thing to think about for both of these decks.
I'm going to say, Nikkei doesn't have it either.
It's like, both these decks do not have stock swap. That's a very real thing to think about, what your deck and set that you're choosing has access to.
Which is the one gleaming glimmer of hope for the Hololive players. You guys have everything.
Yep, Hololive has everything. Stock swap, Botan, off finishers, and every anti-change, tap counter.
It's all there. Broken zeros,
broken ones, some good 2s, Gura, like, they've got it all. Luna, Gura, in the same deck like they think the ban list had. But yeah, when you start early, making small changes, so like say because locals, we get 3 rounds in at locals. That's 3 games that you see, so you can do a whole locals, and then you can make a small change. Say you change out 2 to 3 cards. Every locals, you change 2 to 3 cards over 3 months. You can switch the whole deck out. Like, you'd be on a whole new deck. You can go from this Modernia deck to this Modernia deck very quickly in that period of time, if you really wanted to. And that's just assuming you're just doing raw changes over to that. Like, let alone, I don't like the 3K memory kick this matchup. I want 2 copies of anti-change, or I want a second copy of the 2/2 power pump because I feel like I'm seeing too many standbys with not enough targets off Modernia. I want to go up to another 2/2. Or I'm playing into too many early play decks, and like that can, what your locals has can influence this a little bit. Our locals has been a lot of Freerin and a lot of Don the last 2 months.
Yes.
So
before that, when Azure 2 came out, we saw we had a lot of Azure 2 for a while.
Yep. But yeah,
whatever seems to be the new hotness that doesn't include Freerin seems to be what we see at
exactly.
locals.
Yeah. So it's like we have at least 2. Sometimes it's at least 2 Freerin players who very consistently play Freerin, and they will be playing more Freerin because that's probably one of the decks they'll probably be bringing for regionals. At least that's one of the options. And then we see a lot of Don being the new stuff, and it's a good option as well. It's like, at least it's good enough.
Well, I think when new stuff comes out too, you just kind of expect people are going to play it a fair amount so that they can kind of vet whether or not it feels good, whether they think it's as good as they mentally picture it as. Because, I mean, One thing I would argue is a lot of people are scared shitless when it comes to Azure because they have this phenomenal psychological fear of cats.
Yep.
But arguably, almost any Azure list, in my opinion, is tier 2. I would argue there's no tier 1 Azure list that consistently competes. Yes, it is a very scary deck. It is a very scary feeling to watch a man on your first turn go to 1/4.
Yes.
Or you to go to 1/4 because you just ate shit.
Yep. It's like cats, like, yes, people call it a coin flip, and yes, it does at some point, yes, the math, whatever, it's not 50-50, but yes, it does push damage at 0 way harder than any other deck in the format can.
Well, and the other scary part is it can still push damage at higher levels with zeros.
And then we have something like Bremerton where it's like, oh, the follow-up turn, it's like, oh, you thought we were done with Extra Soul. We're not. And then we just play a restander with Shinano, and it's like, oh my goodness, it's just soul. And it just doesn't stop. And then you get something like this where it's Ayanami, where it's like, now I can restand 3 times instead of restanding 1 time with a Shinano.
Now I got even more soul.
Now I've got more soul.
All I'm going to say is Money Counter made me cry.
Money Counter's really scary. I don't like Money Counter. I love Money Counter when I have Money Counter.
I love playing Money Counter. I don't want other people to have Money Counter.
Exactly.
Yeah, realistically speaking, I think we covered all the bases.
Yep.
Give yourself ample time,
Play the deck. Slow changes.
And I'd also say, whatever deck you're playing against in those 3 matches, as you're talking about, if you play 3 matches into Overlord, it's like, well, this card isn't feeling good. It's like, have them play against a different deck for at least 1 or 2 matches and see if you still feel that way.
Exactly.
Because it could just simply be, this card does nothing in this matchup, or arguably there's really no... I just don't know how to use the card in this matchup. But it's not that it might be a bad card, it just might be a dead card for a certain matchup.
Yep.
It's just like, the Kashino card that we were talking about earlier, your anti-change. If you're going into Ave, it's kind of a dead card because
it's like you don't care about their healing. They've already done the
healing.
They've
already got their value out of it. If they're gonna cycle it, it's like, okay, I mean, you got to pay some resources for that.
They have to hit a brainstorm to get it back out of their grave or hit the salvage. And it's like the one that's on the board is not doing anything.
But arguably, I would say anti-change into Ave, kind of a dead card.
Yep.
But
generically
across the field,
across everyone else, and even then, it's still a good card into Ave, especially if they attack in the wrong order.
I was gonna say the only weak part, at least with Kashino, is this 1K. 1K
it's a 1K
usually
backup.
ain't winning you.
Yeah, it's like, granted,
I think Nike's is also 1K, is it not?
Yeah, it's the exact same text. All of the shaken ones are 1,000 power counters.
So I mean, the backup itself probably isn't saving your lane.
Though that does put you to 7-5 as opposed to 6-5. It's kind of like a decent enough number. So you can actually power tie a lane sometimes. And
I can compete with Modernia.
I can compete with Modernia when they hit if they don't hit the standby. Which, that matters. Stuff like that matters. In this deck, you don't really care about that because you want the reverses, but that's a whole nother meta-analysis thing of, what are reverse... Can you find reverses in this format? It's like, sometimes you can, sometimes you can't, depends on what you're playing.
I was going to say, if you were playing into a really big standby meta...
Yeah, when
you really have to ask yourself that question.
When you're playing into Data Live Mushoku meta, it's like, yeah, you're not getting reverses. I would never bring an on reverse deck to a Mushoku meta. This current meta, the biggest thing is a 7-5 Modernia most of the time. Cross turns, it's there's a few standby decks here and there, Hololive, 8 standby Hololive's probably the biggest one. And they can have some pretty nasty 9Ks on the board. This on reverse still clears 9K a lot of the time, especially with the I-19 and a power pump from the Sakoa. And that's stuff you wanted on the board to begin with. This was your dedicated back row. This is 6, 7 with climax, 7, 5. This shrinks a lane by 1,000, so it's 1,000 power pump. So that's 8, 5. Tap this, that's 9, 5. It's that's easy. The second lane, it's this is where the Dotori comes in. Your second lane gets pumped by the Dotori, that's 2,000 power, that's enough to hit, that's your 6-5, 7-5, 8-5, 9-5 again. So you get 2 lanes of 9-5 right there.
Now you're starting to get into Ave numbers.
Yeah, exactly. It's you're starting to look at Ave Yeah, because Ave can, like, they have all their power pump and increments of 1,000 and everything.
I was gonna say Ave can very consistently.
It's
I've
like,
found
yeah,
get
it's
to
like
8.
6,
Easily get
climax
to 8.
is 7, stock is 8, change is 9.
So I was just thinking
change-
climax into change.
Yeah, change plus
Gives you
climax is
8.
8, which is like, that's really good, and that's the.
And you
that's
can go
the-
higher.
And you can
We
go.
can go even higher.
Let alone if they hit level 2, and it's like, then they have the thing out. It's like,
Yeah.
that's a lot more power. So, yes, Ave is obviously cracked, and the change is probably going to get hit at Worlds. That's why I just bought an SR of it, so I can get hit.
Which is ironic because JP's already been hit.
Yep, Japan's already been hit.
The
with
English
it,
list
but-
just apparently just dodged everything.
I think they're assuming like Oshi 2, Eminence, Nikkei 2. I think they're assuming all of these are going to be very strong decks.
UK2 win.
Nikkei 2 probably sooner than we're expecting because they still want it to be another simultaneous release, even though that wasn't for the first one. They missed the simultaneous release.
Were they that far off with Nikkei though? It seems like it was only difference of a couple months, wasn't it?
It was a few months, but I feel like they're going to really push the simul release for Nikkei 2 this time, and that'll probably be a pretty strong contender, regardless of what they print.
I was gonna say I'm curious to see because personally I was a little underwhelmed with Azure 2 after seeing what Azure 1 was doing.
Yes,
But that's also probably because Azure 2 they definitely leaned more into the factions versus Azure 1 where they didn't care.
They kept it contained, which feels bad for us as we both play Azure Lane, but that's just personal at that point.
They pulled the text out of Fate. We're just like, nah, Fate's too good. We're gonna make contained sets for Fate.
At least Fate got hit, and then they decided, you know what, you got hit, you can't have another good set. Cards on the ban list means your next set's bad.
I was gonna say Camelot had some fun stuff, but it definitely wasn't. It wasn't game breaking.
No, unfortunately, it was better than.
It was definitely better than Babylonia.
Yep, and we can go through our favorite sets and all the sets in another video. We'll probably do pet decks when we get Brandon in, because I love pet decks. Pet decks are great. This is almost a pet deck.
Almost.
It's pretty darn close to
It's
a pet
close.
deck. My 8-bar Dow list, that's a pet deck. That one's like really different from all the other stuff. But yeah, pet decks, that's probably the next video, probably another video. We'll have to see when we can get T.O. Brandon in. He's been playing the game for a long time, and he's got the opinions and takes. Oh yeah. But we've been going now for an hour and a half. I don't want to edit a 3-hour video like last time and then still have all the slideshow desync. So we're going to cut it off here. Our main takeaways: talk with your teammates, potential teammates, figure out, use them, make them your your partners. Get games in, small changes, have options. We're giving Mark 4 options here for decks to play. All 4 of them can have slight changes and other stuff on them. Figure out what you're trying to get out of your regional experience. Book the hotel early. That's a big one. Book the hotel early. Chicago hotels are kind of expensive because there's, I think, what was it, a concert or something?
Yeah, there's
going?
a concert apparently.
Yeah, there's
happening
a
around the
concert
same
going
time
around the
this
same
time.
time. So hotels are a little more expensive than they were in prior years. Yeah, it's time, reps, small changes, small adjustments. We did all that. Mark will be going through these lists. We probably won't be building anything from the ground up. That's a whole different concept entirely. We can do that as a video if we don't get Brandon at some point. But this is the 8th bar. We don't have another punchline or phrase after that, but
We'll work on it.
we're working on it. See you guys later.